Ford has hit the jackpot with the Ford Maverick as they managed to create a practical, compact, and comfortable vehicle that is also extremely attainable. As a result, hundreds of thousands of Mavericks have been sold since it was introduced, and the truck was easily the most popular vehicle on the road. Well, believe it or not, Ford just decided to double down on their compact pickup truck and make it even better than it was for the upcoming model year. So without further ado, here are 6 reasons why you should wait for the 2025 Ford Maverick. Number 6. Much needed styling refresh. The key factor of the Ford Maverick's effortless charm has undoubtedly been its exterior design. Honestly, in a world of over-designed and rather bulbous-looking vehicles, it was rather refreshing to see a pickup truck that is so god-honestly simple in its appearance. However, as honest as it was, it's also undeniable that the Ford Maverick started showing its wrinkles a bit too early, as it does look rather outdated nowadays, especially when sat next to its other Ford brethren. Thankfully, Ford has been quite ravenous, and as a result, their breadwinner will be getting a brand new face. The front of the Ford Maverick has been redesigned to fit in better with the current Ford lineup. This includes a more aggressive front grille that has been beautifully complemented by a set of Ford's now trademark C-shaped headlights. Oh, and if you're worried that this will take away from the Maverick's simplicity, don't be. This new fascia is designed in such a way as to allow the front of the car to pop up a bit more without making it ostentatious. Apart from this, the rear of the car has also been redesigned, albeit most of the stuff we've seen has only been in spy shots. According to some sources, the rear will now boast LED headlights on higher trim levels alongside a different bumper and tailgate design. However, the exterior of the Maverick isn't the only thing that'll go through a major revision. Number 5. An actually decent interior. We love the Maverick, we truly do. However, we have to say that its interior has been uninspiring to say the least, and oftentimes just plain awful. First of all, the layout and design, albeit practical and ergonomic, leaves a lot to be desired in the looks department, making the Maverick's inside a borderline depressing place to sit in. The worst thing about it is that glaring hole next to the infotainment screen, which is just baffling. Well, thankfully these issues will be no more with the 2025 redesign, as the Maverick will now boast an upgraded interior design. One of the first things you'll notice is the fact that Ford decided to dignify us and offer us a large touchscreen on higher trim levels. This both makes the Maverick's inside a much more practical place, as well as making it open up quite a bit. Plus, it also closes off that gnarly hole we've mentioned too. Next up is the gauge cluster, which seems to be fully digital for the facelifted Maverick. As a result, information will now be much easier to read, and alongside it, it'll also be much simpler to give out commands to the truck too. Not to mention that the interior will look far more modern than it does now. The dashboard design will thankfully remain mostly the same, albeit you could expect better fitment. The materials won't be much better, but that's okay because this is an affordable vehicle after all. Plus, the layout was very logical, and we like the fact that most buttons and switches will remain physical. The seats are also expected to get an upgrade with added side bolstering and extra padding to make them more comfortable. All in all, a neat upgrade over what we currently have. Number 4. All-new body style. There's no doubt that the Ford Maverick is a very practical vehicle. However, its practicality mostly stems from its general all-purposeness. It isn't exactly the best choice out there if you're looking for a truck, but if you're searching for a do-it-all vehicle. As a result, most people who need it as a utility-only vehicle have been left with a lot of desires, the most prominent of which was a bigger bed. Well, Ford finally decided to address these issues, as the Ford Maverick will now be getting an all-new body style for those who need increased bed size. This new body style will have 6 extra inches added to the rear of the truck, making it much more usable and generally a better option if you plan on carrying longer items in the back. As a result, it'll be ideal for tradesmen, while also allowing them to retain all of the interior space, making the extended Maverick as good as a people carrier as the regular version. Sure, it isn't exactly a standard cab, however, you really shouldn't expect to see one on a vehicle that sits on a monocoque chassis. Number 3. Increased production output. One of the biggest issues that the Maverick faced was the production output. Most production plants are highly overstrained due to the completely maniacal demand, which resulted in numerous issues. Most notably, buyers had to wait a long time before they got their Maverick, and whatever was delivered to them ended up feeling very rushed and problematic. As a result, the Maverick had to be recalled more than a dozen times already, with some issues being terrifyingly catastrophic, such as fuel leaks and the sudden loss of power. Thankfully though, Ford has finally decided to make production of the Maverick a priority, and as a result, they've expanded the Maverick's production capacity, allowing for the entire production line to become much less strained. This will essentially result in better built cars, considerably shorter waiting periods, and possibly even a lower MSRP. Number 2. A performance-oriented version is coming. Ever since the Maverick was introduced, most of us have been aching for a Raptor version of the truck. We were always baffled by the fact that Ford decided against offering such a vehicle, as it would have easily introduced the concept of a hot, compact pickup truck, and we're sure people would have eaten it up. Well, it seems that Ford has finally come to their senses, as the performance version of the Ford Maverick is all but confirmed. There is, however, a little problem, and that's the fact that this car will not bear a Raptor nameplate. Instead, the sporty version of the Maverick will be called the Maverick Lobo. This is because, unlike the Raptor trim, which is more off-road oriented, the Maverick Lobo will be a street-focused truck. This makes quite a lot of sense, especially since the Maverick sits on a unibody chassis, making it much less capable off-road. As a result, Ford just decided to make the most out of it and play into its virtues instead of its downsides. From a practical standpoint, you could expect stiffer, sporty suspension as well as a lower ride height, allowing the car to be much more composed on the road. Not to mention the addition of all-new 19-inch wheels, which have already been spied. Furthermore, the interior of the car will also be sportier, with more supportive seats, a sportier steering wheel, and many other intricate details to make the car feel like a true sports truck. Finally, and most importantly, the Maverick Lobo will be getting an all-new power plant. This will be Ford's venerable 2.3-liter EcoBoost, which has been made famous by the Mustang, as well as Ford's other larger trucks and SUVs. The engine will push out 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque at the very least, making the Maverick a true force to behold. And if you combine that with the fact that you'll be getting all-wheel drive as standard, it's easy to see how such a vehicle could be a real trendsetter for Ford. However, as popular as they can be, performance-oriented versions are no match to an honest-to-God commuter's vehicle in terms of bringing in money to the company. As a result, Ford also decided to introduce the ultimate practical Maverick, which takes the first place on our list. Number 1. A plug-in hybrid is set to appear. Honestly, most people were baffled at the fact that Ford decided to introduce a regular hybrid Maverick and an internal combustion-only model, but not a plug-in hybrid version. Seriously, how hadn't the thought of offering a combination of the EcoBoost power and the hybrid's economy crossed their minds earlier? Thankfully, Ford officials finally turned their brains on, and as a result of their incredible power of logic, we'll finally be getting a plug-in hybrid 4 years into the Maverick's production cycle. Still, better late than never, right? Anyhow, the plug-in hybrid will be a direct upgrade over the regular mild hybrid in terms of performance. While it will retain its 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, the electric motor will now push out 20 horsepower more, giving the Maverick plug-in a total of 210 horsepower. Sure, this isn't exactly a tectonic disturbance, however, it'll allow for some 500 more pounds of towing capacity compared to the regular hybrid. Also, you'll now be able to travel up to 35 miles on electric power only, making the plug-in hybrid an ideal candidate for city commuting. That said, you still won't be getting all-wheel drive with the hybrid model. This is mostly because installing a motor at the rear is practically impossible due to the truck's bed, as you'd have to give up quite a bit of space and practicality to do so. Oh, and this version will also be the most expensive one out of all except for the Maverick Lobo, and you could expect it to cost a couple of grand more than the regular range-topping Maverick. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.